That's our website. That's just our first contact information, which is our website, happyworldfoundation.us. But I'm going to give you our social media, our phone number, our email address towards the end, where you can reach out to us and we can go ahead and start planning for next year, which is the school year that's coming. Or if some of you are teaching summer school and you want to try this out for one or a couple of your classes, please feel free to reach out to us. But that's our website, okay? So I currently am president-elect of ACTFL. I came to the United States when I was 18 years old. I'm 31 years old now, so I think it was 13 years ago when I came to this country to study nuclear engineering. Like the stereotype for guys like me is from India that you can either be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, or quite frankly, a disgrace to the family. So I came here with the stereotype. I want to study nuclear engineering. I got a scholarship. And after 6 months, I decided I don't want to do this because that's not for me. It's not my life. I want to spend my life doing something I'm passionate about, something that's going to make me love my life for the next 30 years, not be with a nuclear reactor for the rest of my life. So I quit that. And with my twin brother, we bought an old car on Craigslist and ran off from Iowa State University to the south in Oklahoma, where we had an uncle. Our parents were very angry because they're like, how could you leave a scholarship? And now what are you going to do with your life? So I decided to get my degree in teaching, to teach math to high school students. My brother got his degree in business, but I never taught math. I fell in love with Spanish and decided to teach Spanish instead. And I took the exam and I passed the Spanish exam, became a Spanish teacher. That's me in 2009 when we ran away from Iowa to move to Oklahoma. And that's me in my cowboy boots and my cowboy hat, dark skinned. So I would go into these small towns, into the rodeos, and everybody would ask me, so that guy looks like a Mexican cowboy. And I would just laugh it off because, of course, with my rosary out there, with a little bit of Spanish that I spoke, they thought I was a Mexican cowboy. But a lot of times people would ask me questions. Remember, guys, I'm talking to a group of global citizens here. You guys speak different languages. You guys are global citizens. You come from different backgrounds. Maybe most of you come from different countries. So folks would have, adults would ask me questions like, so Akash, you're from India. I bet you can see elephants in the streets in India. And many times I would joke to them, yes, you can see elephants in the streets. Depends on how much you've been drinking. Again, I would never say that to students, but I was just joking with adults that, yes, depends on how much you've been drinking. Maybe you can see elephants in the streets in India. That brings me to the topic of stereotypes. Look, Kash can right now have stereotypes of Ye or of Israel because of the way they look or the way they talk. They can have stereotypes of Akash. But the thing is, when Ye, Israel, Akash come together and talk like adults, we engage in a dialogue, we can dispel the stereotypes that maybe we have about each other. That's the whole purpose of dialogue. That's the whole purpose of what you did today with Sandra and with Sophia. When you spoke to them, you understood them, you knew where they came from, their backgrounds, their stories. And it helped you dispel maybe some of your stereotypes about Argentina or about Colombia. The idea of dialogue and the cross-cultural understanding in our world language classrooms is not just to teach them the language. Again, that's what the state and the law requires us to do, to give them X number of hours of instruction so that they are proficient in that language. But that should not be the sole focus of the classroom. The focus of our classroom should also be to inspire the global citizens of tomorrow who are the champions of anti-bigotry, anti-prejudice, anti-racism in the world language classroom. And that's what you experienced today when you spoke to Sophia and Sandra, is you experience a truly global, intercultural, cross-cultural understanding experience. Now, before this nonprofit was even a thing, I was teaching in a very small town in Oklahoma where people had never seen somebody like me. You see that picture of me with an elephant? So I decided I'm going to go teach in these small towns and I'm going to teach them a little bit about my experiences working with elephants, making elephant poo-poo paper. Yeah, you heard that right. One elephant gives you about 200 sheets of paper. It doesn't stink, it doesn't smell, and it's biodegradable. So I started teaching them about my experiences working with elephants, working with sea turtles. Taught them how to extract the DNA of elephants to study poaching patterns. And I taught them about my experiences with sea turtle. But I realized Akash can only be in one classroom at one time. I can't be all across this country. If I wanted to teach students in Alaska or students in Puerto Rico, students in Hawaii, I can't be everywhere. I can just be in one place. But I have friends who can be everywhere. So I can invite my friend Israel and be like, hey, Israel, can you talk to my classroom for 20 minutes? I know you're from Colombia. Can you speak to my classroom for 20 minutes and my students will play mystery hangout with you? And they're going to ask you questions to solve the mystery of where you're from. Or, hey, yay, can you talk to my students? I want them to come and, do a 20-minute interview with you about you and try to solve the mystery of where you or your ancestors are from. And maybe also learn the language that you speak. That's how we started. I started inviting my friends from all around the globe that will come and talk to the students for 20 minutes of a mystery hangout. And slowly from 2014 today to 2022, we have now a database of over 2,000 people from 150 countries that video calls classrooms all across the globe for free at no cost. I could certainly be charging money for this. If we started charging money, the problem that would happen is if I charge money for these video calls, the classrooms and the schools and the students that do not have the resources, maybe in inner city Chicago or inner city Dallas or in a small town in rural Iowa, will not have access to this experience because they don't have the money for it. That's why we will never charge for this experience, because our volunteers don't charge. They give their time to us because they believe in a world free of bigotry, a world free of borders, a world free of prejudice. So that's why we don't charge anything. And in the foreseeable future that I know of, we will never charge anything for this experience. We've connected thousands of students since 2012. Now we're working with over 500,000 students. This PowerPoint is old. So I forgot I need to update PowerPoint. But we worked last year alone, guys, just last year, we facilitated over 30,000 calls, 30,000 calls in 1 year. So that's a lot of calls. Someday my goal is that we can facilitate 3 million calls. But this is 2014 when I was teaching in Oklahoma and my students were connecting with orphans in India, as you can see in the top left. To the right, these are volunteers from Brazil, Argentina, and Chile at a university talking to my students. You see my student Rocky with glasses with his atlas, has a map. He's trying to find out where are these people from after asking them some of the questions. And then the orphans in India did a dance, a cultural dance for them. And my students back then, they wanted to do something in return for them. So back then, the Harlem Shake was a trending song. So we went on YouTube, played the Harlem Shake, and the students danced to the Harlem Shake. Now, these are volunteers from Lesotho and Swaziland, two tiny countries in South Africa that are monarchies or that have a king. So my students were also amazed. They were like, oh, do you have to bow to the king in your country? How do you greet the king in your country? What does it feel like to live in a monarchy? And these are students in India, and my students on that screen, so curious and inquisitive. They're looking into the screen for the first time in their life. They spoke to somebody from the other side of the globe. Many times they would run into students that would have to walk 5, 6, 7 kilometers or miles to make it to school so that they could talk to their peers. My students would always ask that question, Mr. Patel, our classroom is so colorful. Why don't they have anything on their wall? Why do they have to walk 5 miles to make it to school? So that really inspired empathy in a lot of my tough students. Students, we all have tough students. Students who give us a hard time. They don't want to learn anything in our classroom. They just want to give us a hard time so that we have a miserable day. But when they started seeing students that were walking for 5 or 6 miles to make it to school, after school at 6 o'clock in the night, to talk to students in the United States, my students started appreciating what they have in their classroom, their teacher, their surroundings. They were grateful for it. We have authors, we have scientists. For example, this lady is an author from Alaska. She's teaching students about the Iditarod, which is a race of sled dogs in Alaska. She's reading a book from her kitchen to my students. We have bilingual authors who come and read books in 2 languages to your students. This guy is an actor from Nepal. Or that's another classroom from New Zealand, a classroom to classroom connection. Or volunteers from Lesotho and Brazil talking about Ebola and Zika so that students don't make fun of those diseases. Mariana Llanos, and a bilingual author from Peru, reading to the students. I'm going to focus on this experience and then skip through a lot of these slides because, I want to focus especially on action civics. The title of the talk today was, action civics, cross-cultural understanding, global citizenship for social justice. This experience, this is Bella in the picture. You can see Bella with Alexis, her eyes are like this. Oh, who is this guy? So they spoke to the CEO of Community Recycling, an organization in the United States that recycles stuff in America and sends it to 50 different countries. Bella, like, wow, Mr. CEO, you do some amazing work. What can I do from Oklahoma City to help you? The guy sends us a box with shipping paid for, and he's like, Sophia, or sorry, not Sophia, here, Bella, put your old, gently used clothes and shoes into this box and send it back to me. I've paid for the shipping already. So students put their gently used clothes and shoes. A month later, the guy calls us back and he's like, Bella, look at your shoes. They're going to kids in Sudan. Or Alexis, look at your shirt. It's going to kids in the Philippines. So for the first time, kids at a Title I school had realized that you don't have to be rich to make a difference in someone's life, that we can all make a difference. And often I say this very clearly, guys, that the poor are the most generous that I know of. Poor people are far more generous than rich people, and these children are prime examples of what kids in poverty can do when they're given the tools to make a difference in the lives of others. I followed a CNN reporter on Twitter. He was reporting on Kiribati Islands, and these kids are from the Kiribati Islands. I asked him to video call my classroom so that my kids could see the kids. But the kids didn't speak any English because they speak a local language from the Pacific atolls. So my kids didn't understand them. But for the first time, they realized that these kids in Kiribati Islands, their islands are being flooded because of global climate change. And in a few weeks, they're going to have to move to a different island country that does not share the same culture, the same language as climate refugees. So the next morning, one of my students drew a picture in her reflection. She says, Mr. Patel, I don't think I have much to give to those kids in Kiribati, but I think I could share my bed with one of the kids who's going to be a climate refugee. And I think I can share my bed. I don't know if she really had the intention of hosting a climate refugee in her house, but the fact that she drew that picture was empathy in action. This guy's from the Kingdom of Bhutan, a country between China and India, the only country that measures GDH, or the gross domestic happiness of their citizens, and also the country where the King of Bhutan introduced the World Happiness Day at the United Nations. I don't know how to measure the happiness of people, but you should look it up. They measure GDH, and Bhutan is one of the cleanest countries on earth. It's a monarchy, and now it's more of a constitutional monarchy where the monarch is just a titular head, and the monarch is so nice, he's decided that the people can elect their leaders and have a prime minister. So that's their way to democracy right now. All these programs led us to create exploring languages, a pilot program in some community colleges in the region, and we started giving students opportunities to video call tens of people from over 100 countries to learn about their countries, to learn about their languages, just explore. Again, they're not learning the language, they're exploring languages that are spoken in these countries. So great way to promote global citizenship, also for students to know that there are thousands and thousands of languages spoken around the globe. Excursions and field trips. During COVID, this became a big hit because teachers we can't take students to the zoo, we can't take them anywhere. But now, thanks to technology and the internet, students were traveling to Colombia. And that's a Pueblo Mágico in Colombia. I forgot the name of the town, but to the left is a lady who's taking them on a virtual tour of one of the magical towns and villages in Colombia. To the right is a local firefighter from the local fire station who's giving them a tour of the fire station. So also these are relationships students develop with other students in other countries. You can see students in India now are the surprise for their peers in England and the United States right before their state exams. And they're like, hey guys, we just wanted to wish you the very best with your state exams. How cool is that? Just a day before their state exams, they came and said hello, and they danced and they performed and sang for their peers. These are students from San Luis Potosi, Mexico, with my students in Dallas, my students with people in the Middle East, from Europe, students in Medellin, Colombia, with students in Dallas, Texas. It led us to create another in-person program. Now, this program is not available to you guys. It's only available to people, teachers in Oklahoma and Texas. The virtual program is open to anybody in any state across the United States or from other countries. This program is something you guys can create because Indiana University is our host today. Indiana University has a lot of international students. You can bring these international students into local schools and universities in person or via video calling. Gives those international students service learning hours and also gives them an opportunity to give back and share their culture. That's the same thing we applied. We partnered with University of Texas in Dallas, University of Texas at Austin. We partnered with University of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State University. Got tens of their international students put on buses sponsored by local businesses, and took these students to local elementary, middle, and high schools, share their flags and their cultures and their customs and their ways of life and their careers. So here in the center is my twin brother with two of my friends from Brazil and Afghanistan. There they go and dance with the students. They teach them about their music, their hats, their way of life. Sometimes they end up giving them a soccer ball that's autographed. So to this date, my fourth grade classroom still plays with that soccer ball. They think that that soccer ball came from real soccer players in Brazil. However, they were not real soccer players. They're just people from Brazil that signed that soccer ball. You can have grand conversations with people from all over the globe. To the left, that man from the mountain outfit from Lesotho. To the right, this young man with his soccer jersey from Brazil. So they're all having this grand conversation in one classroom where students get to meet people from all over the globe. There are students teaching them, American sports, and they're teaching them some of the sports that are commonly played in their countries. This is something you can certainly, apply from your local universities to see if you can partner with some of them to bring that experience to the classroom. So today, what you experience, guys, this is actually in Spanish. I should change it to English. Today, what you experienced was a video call with Sandra, a video call with Sophia, and a little bit about what we do at the nonprofit. So I really want to focus on diversity and inclusion. It's a trending and a hot topic right now, DEI. So diversity and inclusion to me is that we include everybody, people who do not believe in the same things that we do, because who knows where Sandra stands politically, or who knows where Sophia stands religiously. She might be a Mormon. She might be, I don't know, a Jehovah's Witness. She might be an atheist. She might be a Muslim. She might be a Hindu. She might be a Buddhist. I don't know. I didn't ask. I didn't care. Students may ask. If they want to, they can ask. They can even ask them, about their preferred pronouns if they want to. So students are welcome to dig into those questions. But what I'm trying to refer to here is most of the wars, the culture wars that we have in this country, genocides we have, the wars that we have right now, what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, that continues to happen. It happens because one person cannot stand the other person because of the language they speak, or because of the religion they believe in, because maybe of the political affiliation, or because of their religious affiliation. That is the root cause of all evil. And if we truly are wanting to be the DEI champions that we want to be, then we are going to have to consider this idea of DEI being including everybody. That social justice is not that we all think the same. Look at that 8 right there. Somebody says it's a pretzel. Somebody says it's a DNA. Somebody says it's an infinity or 8. So social justice is truly about acknowledging the human experience, something that you saw today with Sandra, with Sophia, with all of you guys participating in the video call. The beauty of humanity and you being human is that we all think, feel, and we think and feel differently, and we believe differently. That is the whole part of being human. That makes me human. That makes me Akash, and that makes Israel Israel. Israel has a different name. Akash has a different name. We have different skin colors. But hey, maybe Israel thinks differently. I feel differently, or we believe in different faiths, maybe, or different maybe different way of playing a certain sport. I don't know. It could be. What I'm trying to get to is that we all think and we feel and believe differently, and that needs to be valued by all of us. Because if we don't value, that leads to culture wars, that leads to genocides, that leads to wars. So things like that you want to avoid. These programs led us to create another inspiring program called the School to College Pipeline Initiative. We didn't just stop at the video calls. We created strategic partnerships between these international students who are college and career bound with at-risk students in inner cities and villages of Oklahoma and Texas, not villages, towns. In America, the word is towns. So really the stereotype is school to prison. They think that our students are going from school directly to prison. But we're trying to change that narrative by pairing them with these international students so that they too can have the ambition to someday be like, oh, when I grow up, I want to become an engineer or a lawyer or a carpenter or a plumber, and someday have the aspiration to go to Argentina or go to Colombia. and maybe try some of those ants or guinea pigs, because I'm adventurous and I want to try that. I want to try something like that and see how it tastes. And Akash did. Travel that I actually tried. They were actually delicious. So here's the Global Ambassadors Leadership Institute, a program that our nonprofit offers to people of any age now from any part of the globe. It happens over 8 Saturdays. It's a scholarship-based program. So if you're interested, you can apply to be a global ambassador, and we connect you with diplomats, with US ambassadors, with folks from the United Nations. We have our global professional development, which is what I'm leading with IFLTA today. We have trained over 50,000 teachers. Just came back from Argentina, where I spoke to 30,000 teachers in a stadium. So it was incredible experience. I just came back yesterday from Argentina. You can imagine 30,000 teachers in one stadium, and it felt like it was surreal. It was quite an out of the world experience that I had. So that's the impact of our work now. Look at this. What I do in this classroom today with the folks that are in this IFLTA webinar, they reach out to me the very next week and they create these global experiences into their spaces. Here's examples from Virginia, from Arizona, from Wyoming, from Arkansas, from Missouri. I love the last one here that in Spanish it says, Todos somos uno. The teacher has flags from all over the globe, and the message is we're all the same, which is the beauty of what we do in our classrooms on a day-to-day basis, is to promote this idea. Now, if any of you are interested to teach English or participate in short mystery hangouts in your native languages, because I see a lot of diversity at IFLTA's webinar, if you're interested in volunteering 20 minutes of your time, please reach out to us as well. We would love to have you as a volunteer where you're teaching students in Argentina or in Colombia or in India. The work we do has been recognized widely by many awards and recognitions. The only way we sustain our nonprofit is through our Global Citizen Awards Gala, a gala that this year we are honoring the Prime Minister of Ireland. We have honored in the past actors and ambassadors and NBA players. The gala really helps us raise $100,000 to $200,000 to help sustain the nonprofit, make sure the experiences that you had with Sophia and Sandra can be provided to students all across this country at zero cost. And the gala has also been featured on the front page of the United Nations, helped us raise so much money that we have now been able to give some of that money back to teachers and communities around the globe. My last story for today, and I think we're out of time already, but we started a little late, so Israel, will it be okay if I speak for maybe 6 or 7 more minutes? Okay, so my last story for today is really how I learned Spanish, and that's I try to share with everybody because I want folks to know that I learned Spanish as my 5th language, and I'm running Portuguese now as my 6th language. So as a 21-year-old, when I was in university during summer break and spring break, everybody wants to travel across they want to go to Cancun or they want to go to Punta Cana, and they want to go for the spring break and party it up as 20 and 21-year-old students. Akash was different. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get a job. I wanted to get an internship. So I used Google Translate, one of the worst tools you could use, to write a letter and sent it to 50 random people on Facebook. And these 50 random people on Facebook, I thought they would give me a job. Nobody responded to my message except for one person, the chief of staff of the First Lady of the Dominican Republic. And this guy responds and he's like, Senor Patel, the letter that you sent me is grammatically incorrect. And I responded back to him and I said, ja, 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 or ha, 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 ha. Of course, I know it's grammatically incorrect because I use Google Translate. What do you expect? I don't speak the language. So what do you expect? So it was so funny. The guy gives me his WhatsApp number and he's like, Akash, give me a call. And then I call him and he's like, I love your energy. I want you to come down to my country. I'm going to give you an interpreter, $400 for the month. And I'm going to give you a hotel room. I want you to travel across our island and teach students about your country and your culture. I never met the First Lady in 2011, but the last day I was there, the kids gave me a farewell at the National Music Conservatory, and it was telecast live on the First Lady's program. As you can see right here, I'm on the First Lady's program, and 6 years later, within that time frame, I graduated with my degree to teach high school math, get my master's degree in educational leadership and policy studies. And my first year of teaching, I decided I want to teach Spanish. By that time, I'd already backpacked across South America, Central America, and the Caribbean, did not take formal education in Spanish, but I took the exam and I passed the exam and added it to my certificate. Now I'm a Spanish teacher. In my first year of teaching in 2018, I was selected as a top 50 finalist for $1 million teacher prize called the Global Teacher Prize. Teachers, they picked me as one of the top 50, and they flew me to Dubai with Trevor Noah and Hugh Jackman and Priyanka Chopra, the wife of Nick Jonas. So it was like the Oscars for teachers. I didn't win the $1 million, but I'll tell you my $1 million moment. I was in Dubai sipping on a margarita under a palm tree, and I met two Secret Service agents that were protecting a president. They were talking, ¿Cómo tú estás? ¿Qué lo que mi mano? Like this Spanish that's spoken in the Dominican Republic and the Caribbean. So I spoke to them and I was like, hey, I can speak your language too. I learned my Spanish in the Dominican Republic. And the guy like, whoa, I can't believe this Indian guy can speak Spanish. And then they're like, how did you learn it? I was like, back in 2011, I used to work for Doctora Margarita Cedeño de Fernandez, or the First Lady of the Dominican Republic. And they're like, you know what? She's here in Dubai right now, and she's now the Vice President of the Dominican Republic. The next morning, in front of 5,000 people, she invites me up on the main stage, and she tells everybody, this guy came to my country in 2011, not speaking a word of Spanish, and today he teaches Spanish to vulnerable communities in Dallas. And the last sentence that she wrote on her Instagram and Facebook post was that Akash es un orgullo del mundo que se formó en nuestro país, which means Akash is a pride of the world that was formed in our country. I didn't win the $1 million, but you know, being in Dubai, meeting the First Lady of the Dominican Republic was $1 million moment for me. But 4 weeks later, after I came back from that trip, my twin brother died in a plane crash. My only brother, my only sibling, at 26 years of age, he dies in a plane crash, and it devastated my life forever. So here I am now, you know, the plane crash, I'm trying to figure out my life and trying to be like, hey, what can I do? And here's our nonprofit's logo, Happy World Foundation. And we decided to put the happy glasses on his, you know, on the nonprofit to honor my brother's memory. The glasses are what my brother would wear. They had no lenses in them, so we put them on the logo, and we decided to create this nonprofit. While I was gone, my students fundraised over $1,500 for my family for the funeral. We decided not to take the money, and we gave it back to the students, and the students put it in a program called the Happy Meals for the Homeless. So we created a mentorship program called the Happy Nonprofit Clinic that helps anybody across the country who wants to start a 501c3 at no cost. We have helped over 54 organizations file for nonprofit status. We've been invited by former presidents like Clinton, Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize winner Juan Manuel Santos from Colombia, who invited me to speak on a peace panel about what we do at the nonprofit and how it's promoting peace and understanding. I'm a president of Costa Rica, Laura Chinchilla, my professor, the Secretary of State in Oklahoma, the governor of Oklahoma, and we received many awards, including the Human Rights Awards in the legislature of the Oklahoma legislature, a national award for Impactful, and quite recently I was elected as Vice Chairman of the United Nations of the United States, and honored by the Time magazine as their 2022 Innovative Educator. The last slide for today is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me, to anybody in our team. Here's our contact information. There's my LinkedIn, my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,